Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradha Yashodanandana Brajachanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajachanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajachanaranjana Shodanandana Brajachanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jayodatha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayodatha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jai Radha Madhava ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Ko Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayaliyate Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtikir Hare Krishna. So this morning we'll start a new chapter. We're in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, and we heard about Lord Rishabdev, his appearance, his teachings to his sons, and also his activities. And now the narration continues with the son of Rishabdev, one of the sons, the most kind of important of the sons, which is Bharat. So the title of the chapter is The Activities of King Bharat. And Prabhu gives a short introduction to the chapter. So I'll just read that. And then we read the first 3 texts. Text 1 to 3. Okay, summary of the chapter. The activities of King Bharat. In this chapter, the activities of King Bharat Maharaj, the emperor of the whole world, are described. Bharat Maharaj performed various ritualistic ceremonies, Vedic yagyas, and satisfied the Supreme Lord by his different modes of worship. In due course of time, he left home and resided in Hardwar and passed his days in devotional activities. Being ordered by his father, Lord Rishabdev, Bharat Maharaj married Panjani, the daughter of Vishvarupa. After this, he ruled the whole world peacefully. Formerly, this planet was known as Ajanabha. And after the region of Bharat Maharaj, it became known as Bharatvarsha. Bharat Maharaj begot 5 sons in the womb of Panjani, and he named the sons Sumati, Rashtrabrita, Sudarshana, Avarana, and Durmaketu. Bharat Maharaj was very rigid in executing religious principles and following in the footsteps of his father. He therefore ruled the citizens very successfully. Because he performed the various yagyas to satisfy the Supreme Lord, he was personally very satisfied. Being of undisturbed mind, he increased his devotional activities unto Lord Vasudev. Bharat Maharaj was competent in understanding the principle of saintly persons like Narada, and he followed in the footsteps of these sages. He also kept Lord Vasudev constantly within his heart. After finishing his kingly duties, he divided his kingdom among his 5 sons. He then left home and went to the place of Pula, known as Pulashram. There he ate forest vegetables and fruits and worshipped Lord Vasudev with everything available. Thus he increased his devotion towards Vasudev, and he automatically began to realize further his transcendental blissful life. Due to his highly advanced spiritual position, there were sometimes visible in his body the Ashta Sattvika transformations, such as ecstatic crying and bodily trembling, which are symptoms of love of God. It is understood that Maharaj Bharat worshipped the Supreme Lord with the mantras mentioned in the Rig Veda, generally known as Gayatri Mantra, which aim at the Supreme Narayan, situated within the sun. So that's the summary. And it's not only the summary, it's more or less that's the chapter. Because it's a short chapter, it has only 14 shlokas. So Prabhupada basically put the 14 shlokas in this summary. So we can go to the next chapter. No. Of course, we want to look in more detail. But yeah, it's basically the introduction of the story about Bharat. And it describes here basically how he married, he got sons, how he ruled, and mainly how he performed sacrifices in a very Krishna conscious way. And we'll try to talk a little bit about this today. The consciousness that he had while performing sacrifices. And then how he retired and did austerities in Pula Ashram. Yes, and of course later on we'll hear the story will continue, and we hear the several lives of Bharat, right? First as a king, then as a deer, and then as Jada Bharat. Like very interesting episode in the Bhagavatam. So this is the beginning. Okay, let's start. The first 2 shlokas I will just read the translation, and then the third shloka we can recite together and read. So text 1. Translation. Shukadev Goswami continued speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. My dear king, Bharat Maharaj was a topmost devotee. Following the orders of his father, who had already decided to install him on the throne, he began to rule the earth accordingly. When Bharat Maharaj ruled the entire globe, he followed the orders of his father and married Panjani, the daughter of Vishvarupa. Then that's text 1. Text 2. Just as the false ego creates the subtle sense objects, Maharaj Bharat created 5 sons in the womb of Panjani, his wife. These sons were named Sumati, Rashtrabrita, Sudarshan, Avarhana, and Durmaketu. And then text 3, which we'll have on the board here. Anjanabham namaitat varsham bharatam ityat arbhya vyapadish shanti. Anyway, again, there is actually no there's no meter. It's a prosa, in prosa written. Anjanabham namaitat varsham bharatam iti yat arabhya vyapadi shanti. Let's go to the word by word. Ajanabha nama, by the name. Etat, this. Varsham, Iceland. Bharatam, Bharata. Iti, thus. Yattaha, from whom? Arabhya, beginning. Vyapadi Shanti, they celebrate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Formerly, this planet was known as Ajanabha Varsha. But since Maharaj Bharata's region, it has become known as Bharatvarsha. Purport. This planet was formerly known as Ajanabha because of the region of King Nabhi. After Bharat Maharaj ruled the planet, it became celebrated as Bharatvarsha. End of the purport. Om Agyana Timirandasya Kinanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Bistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So these are the kind of shlokas you're wondering, so what should I talk about? Yes, I mean, one thing which is amazing that we hear now the story of King Bharat, and the Bhagavatam describes many, many different kings, right? There's sometimes full chapters of names of kings. But King Bharat is special in the sense that the whole planet Earth was called after him, because his rule was so perfect. And that's why planet was known as Bharatvarsha. And of course, India is still known as Bharatvarsha, right? The Indians, they speak of Bharat Bhumi, Bharat. They understand their own country as Bharatvarsha. So, which shows the glory of King Bharat, that because his rule was so perfect, till today, that trace of land is known according to his name. And Vishnavacharya Thakur also explains that in a commentary to text 1, the 7th chapter describes how Bharat, with strong determination, worshipped the Lord with performance of sacrifices while at home, and with flowers while in the forest. Rishabdev was the Lord, and Bharat was a great devotee of the Lord. That is indicated by the word tu. So Rishabdev was an incarnation, is the Lord, non different from the Lord himself. And the foremost son of Rishabdev was Bharat, and he was a great devotee of the Lord. And that's usually how it goes. We always worship the Lord with his devotees, right? It's hard to talk about Lord Ram without mentioning Hanuman. It's difficult to talk about Krishna in Kurukshetra without talking about Arjuna. So it's always, we have the Lord, we glorify the Lord, and we always glorify his devotees as well. So here we have Lord Rishabdev, and we have Bharat, a great devotee. And so the next couple of weeks, months, we will hear about the glories of Bharat. Now, in this chapter, so this first 3 shlokas basically described how he was the Mahabhagavat, topmost devotee, and he was entrusted by Rishabdev the protection of the earth, and he married Panchani, which was the daughter of Vishwarupa. And this was arranged by the parents. There was no love marriage, in the sense of you just marry the one you fall in love with, but you marry whoever your parents have chosen. And of course love comes naturally, which of course is a concept for the Western mind, which is kind of strange, but Vedic culture was arranged in such a way. And Bharat had 5 sons with his wife. It's described just as the false ego creates the 5 subtle sense objects. It's like, okay. So Bhagavatam always speaks in poetic words. Sometimes the analogy is, okay, the 5, what are the 5 subtle sense objects?
Taste, smell.
Yes. Shabda, what is Shabda? Sound. Sparsha, what you can see. Rupa, Rupa. Rupa is the form you can see. Rasa is taste. Touch. Shabda is touched. You can touch. So 5 sons: Sumati, Rashtarabhrita, Sudarshana, Avarana, and Dhumaraketu. And in a 3rd shloka is described how the place known as Ajanabha Varsha became Bharat Varsha because of his perfect rulership. So now, in the next couple of shlokas, specifically text 6, the consciousness in sacrifice is described. Because one should so it says here, one should continue Vedic rituals or prescribed duties until one becomes detached from sense gratification and develops faith in hearing and chanting the Lord. This is described in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. Like all these Vedic rules and regulations, and especially these yajna, the fire sacrifices, they are good. One should do them in order to become detached. And when one develops a higher taste in Krishna consciousness, in bhakti, hearing and chanting, then one actually is not required to continue these Vedic rituals. So then how could Bharat, who was qualified for pure devotion, having deep faith in the Lord and no material desires, perform sacrifices meant for karmis? This is a question that could come up, right? We hear how Bharat was performing so much fire sacrifices. But if he was a Mahabhagavat, a great devotee of the Lord, why was he doing so much Vedic rituals? And then text 6 describes that Bharat was free from all material contamination, such as attachment, lust, and greed, because he considered the oblations offered to the different demigods by the priest actually as offerings unto the different limbs of Lord Vasudeva. So he worshipped he did Vedic sacrifices, but he actually had Vishnu as an aim. Vishnu was his goal. He wanted to worship Vishnu. And the result of his yajna, Bharat was not the enjoyer of the sacrifice, and Bharat was not the performer of the sacrifice, and his bhakti was pure. And that made him, you can say, a devotional or a transcendental devotee doing sacrifice. Because, if you do sacrifice and you consider yourself the doer, and you only do the sacrifice for your own enjoyment, and you worship the devas, then this is karma kanda at best. But a pure devotee is not engaged in such activities. But because Bharat, he saw the Lord as the ultimate yajna mukh, like the enjoyer of sacrifice, and he saw himself not as the actual doer, but just as an he understood that he's the performer of the sacrifice, and the sacrifice itself is actually, that the Lord is actually the performer and the sacrifice himself. And in this way his bhakti remained pure, because he did not worship the demigod independently, but he worshipped them as limbs of the Lord. And in this way his bhakti was pure. So, this whole topic of yajna is interesting, because in regards to how we should act in this world, Krishna speaks in the 3rd chapter of the Gita, Yagyartad karmano yatra lokayam karma bandhana tadartam karma kantaya mukta sangha samachara. One has to offer one's work as a sacrifice to Vishnu, because otherwise one will be bound by one's activity. Karma bandhana. This bondage will take place if we act otherwise. If we just act for our own sense gratification, then we will be bound. But if we perform all our activities as a sacrifice for the Lord, then we will, mukta sangha samachara, we will remain free from bondage. Also later in the 5th chapter, the same thing is described, that one who performs his duty without attachment, and who offers all the result of his activities to the Lord, he will never be touched by sinful activities, just like, what is the analogy? A lotus flower, a lotus leaf, will not be touched by water. No, water will, even if water comes on the lotus leaf, the water will roll down, and it will not stick, will not remain on the leaf, it will go down. So if one performs his duties detached and offers them to Krishna, then one will not be touched by reaction. And that's basically the secret, or the art of living, art of acting. How to live in this world. How to live in this world without becoming entangled by the laws of karma, the network of karma. And that's the secret that Krishna reveals, that one should simply act in this world in a dutiful manner, detached from the results, and then actually offering one's result to the Lord in devotion. And if we act in such a way, then we are actually on a spiritual platform, and we are not bound. Because sometimes there is this misunderstanding that people think that there is spiritual life and there is material life, and spiritual life means you go to the forest or you go to the mountains, you meditate, you go to the monastery, and you give up everything. And material life means you're in the world and you're enjoying. Like there's kind of these two extremes. But this is one of the main topics in the Bhagavad Gita, where it's not a question of that we have to cut off from the world, but it's more a question of connecting with the Lord in the world, right? So when we live in the world, like there is this in Christianity, they have this to live in the world, but not from the world. How it goes? To live in the world, but not to be from this world, something like that. No? Yeah. Yeah. So you're in the world, but you're not from the world. So, and of course, that's also that's actually very true, because as a spiritual soul, we don't belong here. we belong into this spiritual realm, and so we are truly in this world, but we don't belong into this world. But that's also indicating the consciousness that we require while acting. So we should act in a way that we are in the world, but we are acting in a way that we are not bound by our activities. So it's not so much that we need to renounce everything and become a monk, although it's a very nice lifestyle. I can testify that this is very good. But not everyone will want to live such a life. So it's not required, because you can live in the world, but live in such a way that you're not bound up by the network of karmic reaction. So it has much more to do with your consciousness. And there is this analogy, or this pastime with the two monks at the riverside. We all know that story, right? Two monks at the riverside. It's an old one. They told it 30 years ago already. And there is a young lady, and she has difficulty to cross the river. It's kind of a small river you can walk through, but you have to go a little deep inside. And she was kind of have a hard time to. And then one of the monks just, takes her on his shoulders and carries her over and puts her down, and then they go on. And after 3 hours walking, the other monk is kind of exploding. How could you do that? How could you carry the woman on your shoulders? This goes against all our principles. What kind of a brahmachari are you? We can't even touch a woman, and you carried her on her legs, on your shoulder. And then what does he say? I carried her for 1 minute, and you have carried her already for 3 hours in your mind. So I just, helped out, and then this thing was over, and you kind of meditating, thinking about it. So it's more, of course, there are rules and regulations, but there is a higher principle, which is, it's more a question of the consciousness. So true renunciation is an inner renunciation, of course, which manifests also in the external, but it has more to do with a deep inner realization. Okay, and so when we often hear that, yes, like for a householder or someone lives in the world, they have to dedicate their work to Krishna, right? We say that. What does it actually mean? What does it mean? How can ordinary work become worship, or ordinary work becomes actually devotional service? What are the elements that are required? Our Keshav Maharaj gives some insight in this. Yes.
To give the fruits of your work to Krishna, so like this means money, to like the Vaishnavas, Krishna consciousness.
Yes, there is basically there's three main elements. One is that the result that we get from the work, we engage it in the Lord's service. Whether it's, of course, if you're fully Krishna conscious, we can engage everything in Krishna service, because we see our home as a temple. Sometimes people ask how to do that practically, because maybe I earn 5,000 Swiss francs. I'm not giving 5,000 Swiss francs to the Krishnaprema of Schweiz. I also have my bills to pay, and how does it work? So, of course, but if you at home, you have your murti, your altar, and you understand that actually Krishna is owner of your house, of your flat, and you have to buy boga to cook for him, and you have to heat the house to have a warm environment for the deity, for Krishna who lives there. And if your family members are all servants of Krishna, and they also need to be taken care of. So then actually you put Krishna in the center, and you do everything for Krishna, and whatever money you got, you engaged in Krishna service in that way. And of course you can also support the Sankirtan mission by contributing to the temple and the activities of preaching. Now there's two other factors which are there. One is the activity that we do should be Rechenschaft, wie sagt man, Wahrhaftigkeit. It should be an honest work. No, you can't work as a butcher, and then call this work devotional service because you give the results to Krishna. It's kind of, you can't perform sinful activity. So you have to do, we call this ugra karma, right? Some activity which ugra karma means which brings heavy reaction, heavy sinful reactions. So you have to do some kind of work which is kind of course it's sometimes difficult, and some devotees also sometimes have to make some compromises, but ideally we kind of find a job where we can avoid sinful activities. So that's one aspect. And the other aspect, while we're working, we remember Krishna. That's what Krishna tells to Arjuna. And you should remember me and you should fight. So that remembrance of Krishna is another element. So if we do something pious, we remember Krishna and then we offer the result to the Lord at the end, then that work becomes worship. And that's kind of practically, that can be done. And this is what the Gita is teaching us. And as we mentioned, another aspect is to understand that I'm not the doer. I'm not the enjoyer, and I'm not the doer of activities. That's another important aspect. And this is also interesting that in this world, usually it's very much, success is very much emphasized, like one has to be successful. But from a spiritual point of view, we more emphasize the endeavor. Because I understand I'm not the independent doer. Like Bhagavad Gita describes, there is the 5 factors of action, right? There is the place, which is the body. There is the person who acts. There's the different senses. Then there is the endeavor, and there is the super soul. These 5 are all aspects, factors of an action. And we may endeavor, but there is the super soul also who either gives blessings or not blessings. Like there is this New Age movement, the secret, the secret? You can, you just have to believe in something enough, and you also have to feel. You have to feel it with your emotions. And then you can manifest anything you want, you can manifest. That's the secret. But this is a half-truth in a way. Of course, the power of thoughts are there. The mind is very powerful. That's true. But there is also something like karma, right? I mean, if it's not your destiny to attain something, you will never attain it. Because Krishna is also there. There is Daiva. There is the divine element. There is the super soul who is also involved in the activities, and he's the overseer, and he's also he gives permission. If he sees that a soul has according to his karma is able to get something, okay, but if not, then the Lord will not allow something to happen. So that's why the devotee understands these dynamics, and these are all part of living in this world, acting in this world with this understanding. And another very nice aspect of this is Keshav Maharaj gave a class 2 years ago here in Zurich. It was about self-confidence versus Krishna confidence. You remember that class? Such a brilliant class. Yeah, 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 yeah. Very powerful class. I didn't make the transcription, wrote it down, everything. You know, like it was so brilliant. And the point there is basically, in this world, all these self-help books and these mentors and these gurus, social media gurus, they want to, you know, encourage you. Yes, you can do it. You're the best. You know, like it's kind of pumping up or blowing up your ego that yes, I can do it, and this gives you self-confidence, and then you become successful in the world, right? Because people have low self-confidence, they're not so sure about themselves, they have doubts, and then they get some coach, some trainer, they tell them, you can do it, you can do it. So all the emphasis on I can do something. So we develop confidence in myself, I develop self-confidence, and then I will be successful. But Krishna consciousness has a different approach. Krishna conscious approach is, of course, self-love. It's an important aspect also of Krishna consciousness, that I accept myself the way I am, and I have a healthy relationship with my own self. But then the main focus, the main confidence is not so much put in myself, but the confidence is put in Krishna. I have confidence that Krishna is with me and that Krishna will help me. And that makes a person confident, because he believes in Krishna. So we understand that Krishna is the all-powerful, all-wonderful personality, and I simply try to become an instrument in his hands. And if I actually become an instrument in his hands, then everything is possible. Then life becomes very amazing. And personally, in my personal life, this meditation that let me become an instrument in the hands of the Lord, I found that the most powerful and beautiful meditation. Like, what is the aim of your life? What is the goal of your life? What do you want to achieve in life? Well, I just want to become an instrument in the hands of the Lord. This is like, wow, because what does it mean to be an instrument in the hands of the Lord? It means Krishna is working through you, speaking through you, acting through you, and in this way touching the hearts of thousands of people and changing the world. This is basically, you become an instrument of divine grace. And we can see Srila Prabhupada was such a personality in his prayers, like, I'm just a puppet in your hands. Krishna, please make me dance, make me dance. So, and Krishna did, and Prabhupada became a perfect instrument. Of course, we cannot imitate Prabhupada, but we all have our dharma, we all have our role to play. It's like a great orchestra, and yes, some play very bombastic instrument or sing, and some maybe just play a triangle, like ting, like once every 2 minutes, ting or something. But that doesn't matter. You're part of the orchestra, so we all play our roles, whether it's bigger or smaller roles. But we have to play our role, and to become an instrument perfectly in that role is the perfection of life, and it's very beautiful to do that. And that's what we are encouraged to become, an instrument. And the beautiful thing is, when in life we face different situations. Sometimes we become successful, sometimes we fail, sometimes we have some challenges, and our consciousness very much determines how we face these situations. If I think that I am in control, and that's why I put confidence in myself, I'm the best, I can do it, this self-confidence in myself. And what happens if I face some challenge? If I'm in control and I face some challenges, what happens to me? Sorry?
I will be very upset with myself.
So you become upset with yourself, you become bewildered, we become stressed, like depressed. Oh my God, such a big challenge. How can I overcome it? I'm alone. How can I face it? It's so difficult, And what happens if I understand that Krishna is in control?
You search out for Krishna.
Yeah, anything is possible. No. If I know, okay, here's a challenge. This is a very difficult problem. How can I solve it? Well, Krishna is on my side. If I depend on Krishna, Krishna will give me the intelligence how to solve the problem. Krishna will be there and support me. So it's a completely different way to look at things. Then, if I fail, if I'm the center of the universe and if I think I'm in control, in charge, and I fail, I become so disappointed, I become depressed. I develop an inferiority complex. Oh, I'm so bad, I didn't make it. What is my attitude if I understand that Krishna is in control?
I know that it was maybe not meant to be, and Krishna is not meant to be.
Yes, I accept. Okay, Krishna has another plan, and maybe Krishna has even a better plan. No, like I had a very clear plan. I want to do this, and this is what I want to do, and it didn't happen, and I become depressed. But then I realized maybe it was not meant to happen, and maybe Krishna has already something else ready for me, which is actually much better, because Krishna knows better what is good for me than I know myself. So acceptance, optimism, that will be the result. So you see that it's like day and night, like if I'm on my own, I'm the controller, I do everything myself, I become depressed and disappointed. And with Krishna I understand, okay, and there is optimism. And then if I'm successful, if I think I'm in control, what happens? Puffed up, I become very proud, yeah. And maybe you also become complacent. I achieved it. I did it. And then you don't endeavor anymore because now I'm successful. But if you understand, if you become successful with Krishna in the picture, what do you become? You don't become proud, but become humble, grateful. Yeah, faith. You develop faith. You develop more faith in Krishna. Wow. Krishna is so amazing. He did this to me. Now, by Krishna's mercy, I achieved this. You develop more faith. You also develop humility because you understand, on my own, I would never be able to do it. It was really because Krishna helped me. And you become grateful. Instead of pride, developing pride, becoming proud, you just become very grateful. Krishna, I'm so grateful that I'm able to serve you in this way, that I become an instrument in your hands. Please use me more. Please help me to do more for you. So this is such a big difference, and this is so beautiful. The difference between, just thinking that I am in charge, I'm the controller, I'm the doer, or rather seeing Krishna in the control and seeing ourselves simply as an instrument. So Bharat, King Bharat, and this is what we hear in this chapter, the activities of King Bharat. Bharat became such a great personality because he did not have any desire for the result or benediction from the demigods. He performed all these yajnas for the satisfaction of Krishna, who is actually the enjoyer of sacrifice. That was his understanding. And he did this yajna as a understanding that he's not a doer and he simply performs this out of duty in order to please the Lord. And he always kept exclusive, pure bhakti because he really worshipped the Lord and no one else. So in this way, Bharat became very successful. And then in the end of the chapter, we hear about the symptoms of perfection, how he attained the bhava, symptoms of ecstatic bodily transformation, like his hair stood on end, tears flowing from his eyes, constant meditation on the Lord's reddish lotus feet, and so on. So, and we can also try to follow in the footsteps of King Bharat by learning the art of action, or learning acting in this world, acting in the world in a way that we are detached from the result, remembering Krishna, and offering all our activities for the pleasure of the Lord. And how can we practically do that? Like in the morning when we get up, we can offer some prayer. Krishna, whatever I think, whatever I speak, whatever I do today, let me offer it to you as a service. And in the evening we can again, whatever I did, whatever I spoke, whatever I thought, please accept it as a service to you. It can become a very personal prayer, personal activity we can do. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Thank you so much for your lecture. I was just thinking that in this lecture Krishna gave, you also got the point that if you're really confident that Krishna knows everything and he's your best friend and he's in control of everything, you will be super enthusiastic. And there's actually no question of being fearful.
Yeah, if you have such a powerful friend just on your side, I mean, what can happen to you? You know, nothing can happen to you. Yeah, it's like.
So this was really
yeah. That's a beautiful point. Yeah, the example is given like a small boy, maybe in school, the other schoolmates they beat him up all the time, but if he walks with his father in his hands over the school place, you know, like he knows, you know, like these others they can't do anything with me because my father is with me, you know. So that kind of feeling of confidence and faith, if you realize that Krishna is on your side and you understand how powerful Krishna is, I mean, life becomes like, wow, amazing. Like nothing can harm me, nothing can happen to me, because Krishna is there, is protecting me. Yeah, that kind of faith we should. That's a symptom of Sharanagati, to accept Krishna as our sole maintainer and only protector, and have a deep realization in that wow, you know, like I have fully taken shelter in Krishna, and therefore Krishna will certainly fully protect me. So it's beautiful. Yeah. It's Vaikuntha, no? That's the place without fear. Yeah. Yeah.
Here we talk a lot about performing the duties very responsibly, and I often wonder myself, like, what is my duty? When should we follow the rules and regulations of the duty in that sense very strictly, and when we should really go with the flow and try to do whatever is faithful for Krishna consciousness, because, for example, sometimes it is not so favorable in that sense in the moment to concentrate on some difficult subject matters also, but then in long term it's actually better. So usually it's difficult to decide. Of course, we can go through Guru Shastra in bigger decisions, but like in day-to-day life it's sometimes difficult.
So how to discriminate between following rules, regulations, principles, and being more spontaneous, like following.
Yeah, like to perform the duty, it's usually not in that moment like so Krishna conscious in that sense. If you have to solve a problem or whatever, it's your duty, and if you're thinking then in that moment like, yeah, what is favorable for Krishna consciousness, then probably you want to do something else, to sit in kirtan or whatever.
Aha, you speak of worldly duties or
how we should put the hierarchy.
Yeah, Bhagavatam gives this shloka, I don't have it in mind, but basically if someone has fully surrendered to Krishna, then there is no other duties anymore, right? Of course that means fully surrendered, and we have not yet fully surrendered. So as long we have not fully surrendered, then yeah, we have some duties in the world. We have, like, I will meet my mother next Friday. I will see my mother, just to see her and because that's a duty as a son to take care of her from time to time. So, yeah, these kind of duties we still have, and we should dutifully try to fulfill them. But that also can be seen as a service to Krishna, in a sense of this is a spiritual soul. My mother is also actually a devotee of Krishna. She's forgot about it, and let me take it as an opportunity to bring her closer to Krishna, and in this way give Krishna pleasure, because Krishna is always happy if someone come closer to him. So again, it's a bit a question of consciousness, how we approach the matter. Of course, sitting in Kirtan with Shamananda and on the Kirtan festival, it's much more direct devotional service than meeting our family members and trying to explain them why we are vegetarians. But nevertheless, it can also be seen as devotional service. Don't know how to balance it. I don't know whether that fully answers your question, but it's yeah, okay, good. Alright, then we'll end here. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Vanchakalpatu.